Hello everyone, welcome to the March Garden Tour. We are having a very beautiful beginning of spring in this part of Switzerland with lots of blooms in the garden already, and it's fair to say now that we had a very mild winter. We haven't seen that much snow since Christmas, and the temperatures have been quite all right. So everything is coming back beautifully, and it's time to take a look at what the garden currently looks like and see how I've set up for spring. We'll start here in the front garden on the roadside, where you see the first change that I've made already, as I've created this new garden bed that I'm going to be planting with. I'm going to be putting the snapdragon seed that I started from seed, and here I've just put down some cardboard on the lawn and put mulch and compost on top of it. On this side, you can see that everything is beginning to leaf out, and it's really nice to see all these tiny little leaves, and looking forward to the blooms later on in the season. So I'm pretty happy with how everything is looking. The little red stems you see popping up over here are the peonies. I had just one blooming last season, and this year I hope that all three are going to be blooming. I have some echinacea there, some bleeding hearts, alliums and tulips that will be coming up next. I did plant a lot of things at the end of last year, and I haven't seen them bloom yet. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this garden bed come to life, all those things growing and maturing here and blooming, filling up this space so I can see what to do next. What needs to be done is the edging of this garden bed, because I've been widening it as I go, but now I think I've reached the size that I want it to be at, and so I can think about edging those ends properly. Have some hydrangeas here. That is a phantom hydrangea beginning to also bud up and leaf out. The Japanese snowball viburnum that I'm yet to find a place for. On this side of the roadside garden, I did remove most of the grasses, and I now have mostly evergreens and maple trees that I'm really happy and looking forward to seeing established here. I do still have a lot of planting to do, or things to move around and adjust as they grow, and I observe how much space they occupy and how the garden bed is changing. But for now, I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Loving all the trees that I've put in, and really nice to see all these vibrant colors come to life here. It's also important to note that I'm planting most of the things for the first time, and I'm very curious to see how they behave and how they develop in this garden. So it's going to be a very interesting year, a year where I get to learn a lot, and a year where I get to, see the fruits of my labor in this garden. Now, this right here is a curious case of allium bulbs. I planted these things, I think, like the first season I spent in this garden, and they've never bloomed. Last year they had lots of leaves, and this year they seem to have grown even bigger. So I'm hoping that sometime soon during the course of the year we'll be seeing what the blooms of those giant bulbs that I planted 2 years ago look like. My bloodgood Japanese maple is beautifully leafing out. So nice to see. The planting of this new garden bed is quite imminent because I have the seedlings ready and everything else I need. The pathway here, I'm probably going to put gravel. We'll have to wait and see. We are slowly heading towards the back of the garden, but the new thing I'm trying, or another new thing, is this clematis that I'm trying to train to climb on this tree that is completely useless. I don't know what kind of tree it is, but it does nothing for the garden. So I'm hoping to use it as a trunk on which I can train the clematis to grow on. Lots of spring blooming things on this part of the garden, but also some hydrangeas, macrophyllus, that are leafing out quite beautifully. And so we head towards the back of the garden. And my tree limelight hydrangeas are still over here. This one has not yet been made into a hydrangea tree. I'm yet to work on that, but you can see that It's budding up. Yeah, they're doing quite all right. The lilac tree here has budded up beautifully and is going to be blooming this season. I'm very happy to see that, because last year I saw no blooms on these lilacs, which is one of the reasons why I took it out of the roadside where I initially planted it. Now over here on this row I used to have just a lavender hedge. What has happened is that I've planted some alliums in between, and they're doing quite all right. We're going to have to wait and see when they bloom, and once the lavender hedge is in full swing, how everything is looking and what we might have to remove. So my containers are full with spring blooms already. All the daffodils are already blooming. The tulips have budded up beautifully. Everything looking quite nice. But pretty happy with all the containers over here. Lots of interest. The roses seem to be coming back beautifully as well. This one here already leafing out, and so are the hydrangeas. Still have lots of seedlings that I need to plant out in the garden. I have a small maple tree here. So this is one of my favorite roses in the garden. The lovely rococo has leafed out beautifully and is probably going to start budding up pretty soon. Camellia blooming beautifully. I love that. That bloom has been going on now for like 2 weeks. More buds here. So pretty happy with how everything is coming back. These hydrangeas have also leafed out beautifully. I still haven't transferred any of them to a bigger container. I hope to be able to do that before they start blooming. But they're looking quite nice. Well, looking down there or back there, I've worked a lot on what I like to call my wild garden. But there's still quite a lot of work to do. I need to work on this bed, but the pinky winkies are still here. And yeah, once I have the pergola in place, I'll know better what I want to do exactly. And before we head to the vegetable garden, an update on the incredible hydrangea hedge, which is leafing out quite beautifully. As you can see, they look like they'll come back this season even stronger. I did remove the Verbena bonariensis and most of the alliums that I had here. Some tulips, daffodils that I had forgotten here, but also alliums still. Now the vegetable garden, if you recall, my last video was about how we set up and planted the vegetable garden for the beginning of the season, and things seems to be sprouting already. Here are the carrots. I have some radishes here that have sprouted also, and my alliums, my my onion seedlings, I just planted them here, and we're going to see how they turn out. I mean, if they don't come out well, I think the worst that can happen is that they turn out to be like spring onions that can still be used to cook. So yeah, let's just wait and see. I do still use the frost cover, even though we haven't seen frost now for the past how many weeks. But I find that they kind of give the little seedlings that extra confidence and protection. So here I put in the salads. Loving how they're coming up right now, looking quite all right. Here is where my second son planted the radishes, and they seem to be doing quite beautifully. The tatsoi is looking good as well. I added some beets, my tiny beet seedlings. I did add them there, and so far they're standing upright, and I'm sure they'll do just fine. They might take a little longer to develop the bulbs that are edible, but they're looking quite all right. So this is where we had the issue with the slugs eating up the first white kohlrabis that we planted. And what I did was I just got new plants from the garden center and then put them here. And now I have a mix of the original tiny seedlings that I planted as well as the ones that I got from the garden center, and they're all living harmoniously. And here is the spinach, loving this new growth. They came out quite nicely, and in a few weeks time we should be able to be harvesting some spinach here. A new addition is this trellis, or what do you call it, tunnel. The structure that you see here is where I'm going to be planting. I've already put in some sugar snap peas here that should be coming up soon. These are the sugar snap pea seedlings that I started indoors. They're a bit ahead, but other ones should be coming up soon. And this is meant for either tomatoes in the summertime or some squash. So we're going to have to see. So what we have in these containers are a few blueberry bushes. I'm very curious as to they're not looking like, well, we'll see. They have sun here, they have good soil, enough moisture, so we're going to have to wait and see. My fava beans is looking amazing, nice. The potatoes are coming up already. So the potatoes here, they are slowly coming up. I've seen a few leaves trying to pop up already, which is good. In this garden bed back here, and by the way, this is our pool filter, and back there is another garden section that I haven't even started attending to. So over here on this side, soon we should start seeing some asparagus popping up from the ground here. I did see a few already. Oh, look up there. So back here is where I have some asparagus. I don't know when I was mulching this area last time. Oh yeah, here. Here are the small tiny asparagus heads coming up already on this side, and I think in the next, well, 2 weeks or so we should start seeing some long asparagus coming up here. So here is where I planted my leeks seedlings, very tiny little things, but I did plant them quite deep. Just yesterday I believe I put this in. The lemon pieces that you might notice are so that the cats stay away from using the garden beds as their toilet. I still haven't settled the issue of my other berry bushes, like the raspberries and the blackberry bushes that I still have in that container over there. I hope I'm going to be able to address that before the berry season begins. Here I have some raspberry bushes or canes that I moved, which seems to be doing quite all right and coming up already. But I haven't completely decided where I ultimately want them to be. However, the strawberries are nicely housed in containers such as these. I have a strawberry tower over there, and even some strawberry boxes on the walls. And here we have a strawberry bed, so in-ground growing here, and they seem to be doing quite all right. I still need to mulch here. So here's where we have the in-ground potatoes in this garden bed right here. I haven't seen any of them pop up yet, but I'm sure that we should be seeing some potatoes coming up there. And then the garlic that I planted in fall, looking quite coming up nicely. I did add a few more garlic between the rows. Might end up being tight by the end of the season, but I'm sure they'll be just all right. And here are the onions that I planted in fall, and the ones that I just added 2 weeks ago are already coming up here as little onion heads. The brassicas mostly in the grow bags. Everything doing quite all right. They're doing quite well in the grow bags, and I've just mulched everything, so they're very happy in there. as well as those that I planted here on this metal raised bed. Everything looking quite fine. So yeah, this is a purple sprouting broccoli that I planted last year, and it did nothing. But now I'm seeing small tiny purple things looking like, you know, they'll start shooting out of those leaves very soon. So I hope that happens. That would be really nice to see. Having planted all or most of my seedlings that I put here, I've now brought in one of the boxes that I have here to grow stuff, and this year I'm going to be planting tomatoes in here, and my snapdragons are ready, more than ready to be planted in that new garden bed that I created in the front garden. So I'm going to do that next week. So many things coming up this season. Everything is looking good so far. A lot of work to do still, but I'm pretty happy with where the garden is right now, and I'm very optimistic for this season as I get more experienced and understand better how the plants behave and how to take care of them. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.